I'm so seriously a rule buster. I haven't even broken a rule yet, but I'm already thinking about it. Hello, welcome to the theElpyDimension. I am your guide, Elpy, and this is my worm farm. This is the red wiggler bin. Today is, hold on, it is the 30th of August. It has been 9 days since the last feeding. At this time, the last feeding was 9 days ago. Prior to that, it was 8 days. And last time I was in here, this red wiggler population, if you don't know or you don't recall, it's kind of like it started over. There was a mass die-off. I do believe it's my fault from being negligent, most likely. I think that they look like they're doing okay now. So, and this stuff I believe needs to be harvested. So today what we're going to do is we are going to harvest this portion into this bucket that still has castings from, this is paper I just took out of the mixed worm bin number 2 because it's got a lot of mites on it, and I don't care if it goes into the castings. Yeah, so I think these castings will fit in there. This is a 2-gallon bucket. Next to it is our frozen thawed mixed veggies with some frozen thawed bananas in it. These were badly freezer burned, so I took them out and let them thaw. That is a large feeding for this bin, but I don't think I'm going to get to the other 2 bins. So we'll see. Because, yeah, we'll see. All right, let me go ahead and harvest these. Look, I can kind of set up my camera. I'm not worried about any clumps right now. I use my castings for my own purposes in my garden. So whatever imperfections there are, I'm not worried about. But these are nice, and I think their moisture level is good. They're crumbly. They break apart easily. They're not dry, but they're not wet. Okay. I'm not really watching the clumps because I'm just trying not to knock my camera down. At the same time, I'm trying to reach down and get in there. So whatever, normally I'd kind of sift stuff through. So that filled the rest of, there's a little bit, oh, my phone's teetering, I think. And there she blows. All right, well, there are obviously much worse places to drop your phone. And I could have dropped my phone after putting in like really rotten, stanky food scraps and stuff. So normally, I leave quite a bit of the old castings behind to help sort of inoculate. And that still makes sense. But I feel like the material in this bin has been in here so long, and there's still going to be so much left next to, hold on. See, there's still a lot to deal with here. And I just knocked some down in there. But I really believe that they're going to benefit from the new stuff. And I forgot that normally I start by going through the old stuff then. Anyways, it's all my rules anyways. All right, I tore up some paper. I just tore it by hand. And it's been soaking in a bucket with some water. And now I'm going to pop it in here. Okay, so new plan. It's probably still going to be a significant feeding, but I have some old gazpacho that, so it's basically just a bunch of ground up vegetables. Yes, I use some oil in it, olive oil. No, I'm not worried about it. Let me know in the comments if I should have been worried about it, because by the time you see this, I'll have done it anyways. I think it's going to be okay. Now, in my last video, I talked a little bit, gave a little tiny bit of history about me and my interest in worm farming on YouTube. And I also mentioned that I've kind of been watching some more worm farming content again, like I used to watch a lot of it. And I'm really pleased to see more content creators out there and people sharing their worm bins. More people also doing it commercially. And I was reminded that by, I believe, Mimi's Worms, that a wet bin is more conducive to worm breeding versus making the castings. The castings, you don't want them so wet. But the more moist the bin is, you don't want standing water per se, but you do want it to be really moist. Borderline wet. I don't know that she said that, but that's what I'm saying. She would know better than me. So I'm like, wait, if I need this population to build up, then I do need it to be wetter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add the wet paper, and then I'm going to add this gazpacho. And the gazpacho is already so ground up that I think this will be excellent for the worms. So this is just a little bit of a barrier to the fact that it's going to be wet. And you know what? We'll put these chunks of wood down there. A couple of pieces. Okay. All right, hold on. Okay, sweet. Look at all this. I filled up that whole space. You know, it's not pushed down, but I didn't wring this out at all. And it's not as, it's still, you know, this stuff will still kind of clump because I tore it into shreds, but I think it'll still be great. I think once it gets to their liking, whatever that means. I didn't see any worms, did you? When I was taking the castings out. So, yucky but still smelling good gazpacho. Now that's a lot. Do we, or don't we, add more? Because I have another one about that size. It probably would have been smart of me to check on the other feeding, the other half of the see, let's do that. We'll come back. Because that is, I mean, I don't know, that's a lot, but it's also really already well broken down. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to add more. This one's kind of reddish. Well, it looks orange in the camera, but because I added watermelon to it. There we go. Okay. Might be a bit much. We'll see. Maybe we'll kind of stir it around. We'll see in 7 to 10 days. Again, today is the 30th of, it is Friday, the 30th of August. Now, let's go ahead and have a look-see at the rest of the bin. I think the last feeding was here. Gosh, I can't remember. I get it why. Every time I would watch the other, no worms on top, by the way. If you've seen any of my other videos, the more populated bins tend to always have at least some worms on top. But I was saying I get why people would always have little markers. Other worm farmers, they'd be like, yeah, I'm going to put this plate or this piece of paper or this item to show where I fed last. I mean, you come across it anyways, right? But yeah, no worms. I'm not seeing any worms. In the more populated brins, I would have seen many worms by now. Now what I need to remember, well, I was going to say is look for cocoons, but I believe my population is young anyways, so I don't think I even have breeding age worms. Nope. Still got those Brussels sprouts, and it's not super dry. I mean, we saw that the castings are dry. So maybe, you know, I mean, if we're talking about, there's a worm, very much a baby. So that would signify there were, oh, and here's another baby. And one on my finger. But if we want a wetter environment for worm breeding, but so we've seen some worms. We know the bin isn't 100% dead. Oh, here we go. Okay. Interesting that they are at the bottom, where it is clearly more moist. None of these appear to be adults. This is where the apple is. Now in the bin I was just in, there were a lot of worms underneath the apple. And I see no worms in the apple, as there were worms in the other one. That's the apple stem. So we would expect to find worms at least underneath the apple. Nope. Obviously this is not the side we fed on, so it's not like super alarming to see barely any worms. This just means that when we get over to the other side, we better see the worms. I am actually going to put this apple. No, I'm not. I'm not, because if the worms, you know, here's some food for them. If they don't want to go over there, then they aren't forced to go over to that side yet. All right, guys, what do you think's going to happen? I am going to put this piece of bark over there, though. Okay, moment of truth, moment of truth. Now, when it comes time to really like start preparing this side to be harvested, I think at that point, I'm saying this because I was just thinking that, oh, I should throw all the clumps into the new stuff. I'm like, no, hold off a little bit. Hold off a little bit on doing that. Maybe next time. I don't know why I just... Okay. Well, here's some worms on top, but they might be on top because we just stirred up all that material. They aren't super active. They're not dead, but they're also not adults. Here we go, guys. Let's break it down layer by layer. Again, in the more populated bins, not only would we have seen worms on top, but we would be seeing even more. Okay, even more worms. Here we've got worms all in the shredded paper from last time. That's really good. See cherry tomatoes that are untouched. I guess the cherry tomatoes don't, if their skin isn't already broken. They were good and mushy, but I'll go ahead and help them. Oh, look at this, guys. Sorry, friend. That is a clitellum. So that's good. That's really good. Barely a clitellum. But I believe that qualifies as a clitellum or immature clitellum. So we do have at least one breeding or almost breeding age worm. So I'm feeling much better, as I expected and hoped, nervously hoped, but I did expect. It would have surprised me if everyone was dead. Almost everyone. But you know, you're still holding out hope until you actually see that. But I did believe once we got in here that we would find more worms. But we're still holding out hope for what we actually see. Gosh, tonight's videos are going kind of long. Guess I'm a little extra chatty. All right. Don't pause it. Zoom in. Okay. Good, that's good. I'm not really trying to look for cocoons, but I definitely don't see any right off without any that are obvious. Man, I'm hunched over in a way that my back is suddenly like, hey, maybe you should stand upright. Oh, I just kind of rolled that over, didn't I? Yeah, we've got... So we did see those little bitty babies. So there had to have been... You know, there could have been cocoons that just hadn't hatched. But either way, there were little bitty babies. I don't know if they quite classified as wisps, I believe is what the babies are called, or maybe those are the babies right when they come out of the cocoons. But all right, I feel good enough to not be so nitpicky that I need to go through this much excavation. Even though, as I say that, I'm like, well, we didn't even really... I've been so slow and detailed. Didn't really even get into the feeding zone to see just how much is or isn't left. But there's definitely a lot of worms. We've seen about 4 cherry tomatoes. God, this material is deep. 5 cherry tomatoes. This one's actually smooshed. Yeah, so it would seem that the food is gone in here. And the worms they're all right. There's a very small population, but things are encouraging. So they've got a couple of cherry tomatoes left. It makes me wonder if I shouldn't give them a little bit of food, that if they don't like the new stuff. I don't know if that's the guy who had the sort of kind of clitellum. I think I might, hold on. I don't know, I just feel like if they don't like the new environment, if it's not to their liking soon enough, then, well, that's kind of stupid, right? Because that's, you want to encourage them to come over here to eat and to not, well, anyways, I still, this population, I feel they're fragile. And I'm kind of like, I don't know, I want them to be certain that they want to come over here, so that I don't want them to starve in the meantime. All right, well, I feel good about what we found, ultimately. I do feel really good. I think that this population is going to be okay. It's going to recover. This stuff, so there we have it. 22 minutes. A bit long. These videos are a bit long. Yep, we've harvested August 30th, Friday, August 30th. We went ahead and harvested a couple of worms accidentally got kicked down through. Went ahead and harvested part of the red wiggler bin. That is a struggling population. And we added some spoiled homemade gazpacho. And then we sorted through here and discovered that aside from 4 cherry tomatoes, there's nothing else in there to eat. But the worms looked good. There's baby worms. Maybe there's a few adults or almost adults. So things I would say are looking encouraging here. And I really look forward to getting back in here in a week's time. You'll see this. This is Friday. You'll probably see this in the middle of the week. But 7 to 10 days, we'll be back. And yeah, I'm excited. All right, tonight I didn't think I would get to all the bins, but I think I will get to at least one more bin. Thank you for your time in visiting the theElpyDimension. I appreciate your interest. I'm happy to chat, so leave a message in the comments. Leave a paragraph in the comments if you want to. I'll most likely write a paragraph back. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your interest. Be safe. Be well. Bye for now.